Let me see. Hi, good morning, everyone. We'll just give people a few more minutes to go ahead and check in. If you guys have any audio challenges or anything like that, please, I'm not sure if you're able to chat, but go ahead or use the Q&A, and we'll just give people a couple more minutes. Okay, it looks like we've got some more people. I'll give people a little bit more time. Somebody just decided to start mowing their lawn, so I hope you guys can't hear that outside. But let me know if you have any audio issues or anything like that. All right, I will go ahead and get started because we've got a pretty jam-packed agenda here. So I'm Bridget Daly with GiveCentral, and I've got Kimberly here from Zeidman Development. We have been working hard over the last, I would say, 4 months, working on an API integration between GiveCentral and Razor's Edge, and I'm so excited to share that with you today. We are tired of file exports and file imports, and so this will allow our clients to quickly bring in the information directly into Razor's Edge. Kimberly's going to go through some of the exciting things that Importacular does and how it differentiates in the marketplace. We'll see a demo of the API. And then if there's time, I've got Vishwas too here from the GiveCentral side, who will go through some of the new stuff we've been doing in AI, because we're just really excited to share that. A few housekeeping items. I am recording this, so happy to send out the recording to people afterwards. If you have questions during the webinar, I will do my best to respond, but otherwise we do have some time at the end for some Q&A. So I just have a little bit of intro, because not everybody who's on, is a GiveCentral user. So I just want to make sure to explain a little bit about who we are, and I'll let Kimberly do a similar introduction to herself. So again, Bridget Daly, title is VP of Business Development. Really what that means is I'm in charge of our sales team and our large client accounts. I've been with GiveCentral now for almost 13 years, which is also pretty hard to believe. We're an online donation tool. So primarily in the faith-based space, but again, it doesn't have to be that way. We can work with any 501c3. We try to have an innovative way of looking at fundraising and engagement. And our motto really is to be able to give in 5 seconds or less. So our goal is for donors to have a very frictionless experience when making that donation. And Kimberly, I'll let you introduce yourself and Zeidman.
Hi everyone, my name's Kimberly. I've been working at Zeeman Development for about the same amount of time as Bridget, actually, so for about 13 years. We are a small software company and we create add-ons for the Razor's Edge to help you manage your data better. So that includes integrations, additional tools, and consulting and training as well. We work worldwide. The majority of our clients are in North America, so USA and Canada, but we have clients all over the world as well. And as you can probably hear from my accent, I'm based in the UK. Our team is international, so we're across both the US and the UK.
Why did we do this, right? So our goal has always been to focus on the transactions. So we want to make sure that GiveCentral is able to stay, truly best in class in the online donation space, and make sure that we can easily get those gifts into the database of choice. So we've really been building out our set of APIs. This Razor's Edge one being one of the most recent. Most development offices, changing out a database is extremely heavy of a lift. And so we want to make sure that we're not making people's lives more difficult by requiring file exports, file imports, exception handling, making new records, duplicates. There's a whole slew of things that can be challenging when the two systems are not in sync with each other. So that is why we have worked out this system with this connection through Zeeman and Importacular. In a nutshell, for those who aren't as familiar with GiveCentral itself, we're an online donation tool. Something that's unique about our system is it's donor-centric. So donors have one profile, can give to any GiveCentral organization. So if you live I'm in Chicago, I give to my parish here, or if I live in Los Angeles, DC, anywhere you are, you can give with that same profile. Everything is fully customizable, so you don't have to, stick within our box. Donors are not giving to GiveCentral; they are giving to your organization. So we want to make sure that whole experience from the beginning all the way through to the receipts is fully customizable. Some cool stuff that we're doing are what we call smart emails, which basically allows donors to take action on their gift without logging in. A couple of these that I want to highlight is the resubmit and reschedule a failed payment. So if a donor has a failed payment, we send them an email. Typically that email just says your payment failed, and then it's on the donor. The onus is on them to fix it. In our failed payment emails, there's a button and a link where people can go in and update and resubmit that missed payment. A couple others at the bottom that I'm excited about as well is the ability to go ahead and increase a recurring gift, all without having to create a new schedule. No need to create a new profile, re-enter payment method. They can choose to increase that recurring gift all within their transaction email, and also convert a pledge to a recurring gift. So I see this being really powerful for a lot of our clients who are running annual appeal campaigns, or perhaps a capital campaign that they're just finishing up and maybe want to ask people to continue to stay a donor after that capital pledge has been fulfilled. We also have smart links. So a term in the industry really is PURL, right? So personal URL. So we allow donors on completely custom forms to have all that contact information filled out, including their specific ask amounts. We have PURLs or links that allow people to increase that current recurring gift, convert a pledge to recurring, or to complete a pledge that they may have started with cash or check. So that's just a pretty SparkNotes version, but I wanted to hit the highlights, and now I'll pass that over to Kimberly to go through and describe this interaction.
Thanks, Bridget. Okay, so just to tell you a little bit about us, we have created an import tool for the Razor's Edge called Importacular. Importacular is available for all Razor's Edge users, whether you are hosted by Blackboard, hosted on premise, and if you're using NXT, then this works too. It works in database view because that is where the most functionality still exists in the API, and it allows you to bring data directly from GiveCentral using their API, so it's a secure data transfer into your Razor's Edge for processing. So that means at no point do we have access to your data, it goes straight to Razor's Edge and then you review it before it goes in. Oh, Bridget, how do I go on to the next slide? Sorry. Okay. Here's some more information about Importacular. I will try not to read you the slide because I know that's super boring, but just to give you an overview of the main features. So you can import and update your donor details in Razor's Edge. So that means biographical details, contact details, and gifts. So anything that you want to bring in, and that includes adding fields like attributes or constituent codes or funds or appeals or anything like that. We can add all of that within the one import. It's totally customizable mapping. So that means that any field that comes over from GiveCentral, you can put into Razor's Edge wherever you choose. And as I said, it's secure. We also have completely configurable matching criteria. What that means is that there's no algorithm to find the existing records in Razor's Edge. It means that you choose what a matched record looks like. So you can choose to match on email address, on physical address, on first name, on last name. We can also do things like match on name equivalents. So things like Kim, Kimberly, Kimmy, all of those things, we can look those up in Razor's Edge and present you with the options of what a matched record is. So we're never creating a duplicate record. And we can import all the data in one pass as well. So we're not creating the constituent and then adding the address and then adding email. And also the templates we create are reusable. So that means that you're not having to as you would with a Razor's Edge import, you're not having to recreate the template every time. It's there and you can reuse it to bring the data in. So that will make it much, much more quicker. FAQs there, hopefully they're fairly straightforward to answer. Obviously, there are other tools on the market that do similar things, the main one being Omatic. And Omatic have been around for a lot longer than us, but what they can do is no different than what we can do. And in fact, there are some things that we can do that they can't, and there are some things that I think that we do better. In addition, we'll definitely beat you on price for an Omatic renewal. So it's always worth considering it. But the main thing here is the security of your data. You're not having to download a file. You're not having to share files. You're not keeping donor data in a spreadsheet somewhere. It's not on somebody's home PC. It's always securely transferred. So that's a much better proposition for your donors to make sure you're keeping everything safe. Next slide, please, Bridget. I feel like I'm in a game show. Okay, so questions that you might ask. So a lot of these are quite technical, and if you are not the database manager or the main person who uses Razor's Edge, this might be slightly boring, so apologies, but hopefully this will answer lots of questions that you might have about exactly how we do certain things. So the first one, can I create and update records all in one import? Yes. So when we bring data over from GiveCentral, we can, as we're looking up the records that already exist. If it's a brand new record and you want to create it, then it goes ahead and does that as part of the import. If it finds an existing record and we want to update that by, say, adding an address, adding an email address, adding a constituent code, we can do that all at the same time. With the recurring gifts and pledges, we need to create the schedule and then add the gift, but we've got templates set up to do that. Okay, next slide. Where can I put my data from GiveCentral? I kind of talked about this before, but basically anywhere you like. So you can use whatever fields to generate data in Razor's Edge. And that means you can do things like you can transform data from GiveCentral to populate a field in Razor's Edge that it might not quite match with. And you can also create fields where you don't have any data coming from Razor's Edge. We can create default values. So we can say all new records should have a constituent code of online donor, or all records should have the attribute of GiveCentral donor. Whatever you want to do, it's totally possible. Next slide, please. Oh, I literally just talked about this. I'm an idiot. So same question. I've answered that question. Apologies. Do I need an ID number to find a match? No, you don't. That's exactly the point of Importacular, is that you choose how you find matches. when we first set up your import template, we are going to create an alias for your GiveCentral ID. And when we create a recurring gift, we'll create a gift attribute with that ID number there so we can find matches more easily. But if we don't have those, then we can use all those other fields to look up as we talked about before. We've got some default matching criteria set up, so we can sensibly find all the duplicate records very easily, but you can tweak that to make sure it works with your data. Next slide, please. Can I import data that doesn't match my RE code tables? So this is things where there's a drop down in Razor's Edge, and ordinarily when you import, the text needs to match exactly for you to update Razor's Edge or add new data. What we have in Importacular, and what you'll see on my demo in a minute, is the ability to transform incoming data so it fits with your Razor's Edge criteria. So that could be things like changing United Kingdom to be UK, it could be a state change, but it also could be things like the type of surname you've got determines the type of salutation you get, or the first name. We could also use the first name to determine the gender. You can tweak all of these things. And we've also used the fund ID to determine, we've also used the parish ID to determine the fund. So we can use that data to populate Razor's Edge with stuff that you've already created in your tables. Next one, please. Can I correct text casing? So we've got a number of options to just blanket clean up data as it comes into Razor's Edge, because we know that when people enter data in an online form, they often don't do it in the cleanest and most consistent way. So the first thing you can do is change data to be capital case, or all lower, or all uppercase, and you can do that on a field by field basis. So you can do that on address lines. So if you want all cities to be in capital letters, you can change it to that. You can do whatever you like. The other thing you can do is use the transformations to sensibly correct some of those things too. So for example, we have a setting on the last name. If we change it to proper case, so its first letter is a capital letter, we can also set up some settings so that that doesn't mess up things like McD or O something, because obviously we want two capital letters within that. So we're making sure that we are actually cleaning the data, not creating more problems. So updating existing records without losing history. This is really, really important. And I have this conversation all the time because I know that you guys don't want to lose your address history. You don't want to lose your email history, and you want to be able to see all of that stuff. You might want to change the type. You might want to mark it as do not send mail. You might want to change the new one to the preferred mailing address. All of that is possible within Importacular. So you don't have to worry about that, about losing history when you import stuff. And reviewing data. So again, you'll see this in the demo in a moment, but we show you a full review screen with every single field you're importing into Razor's Edge. You can make edits to that data if you see errors in text fields, and you can spot check and go through the matches to make sure that they're working. But you can also look up records. So if you see somebody in there and you think, I know they're in Razor's Edge, why hasn't it found them? You can find those people manually and match it. So there's a process there for you to check. Now, obviously at the beginning, you're going to probably want to do that quite a lot. But as you get more familiar with Importacular and as you use it more and more and you understand the way the import works, your checks will become shorter and more cursory, and you'll just want to go through the matching bits rather than checking every single field. And last one is about errors. So of course, there are some errors when importing data, and we know that you need to deal with those. So the way that Importacular works is that we have a validation process that will check all your data and show you any errors prior to importing. Again, when you import, we do the same process. We have a control report. Everything else is imported, and any issues are pushed into a control report where you can review them at a time that suits you. You can then use that file as an import file to bring that data back in once you've corrected it, or you can redo the import back from GiveCentral.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and exit out here. And Kimberly went ahead and recorded the demo ahead of time. So I'm going to start it here from the beginning.
Okay, let's get into the demo section. So Bridget, you've muted the sound, I think, by muting yourself. Installments and the pledge payment installments. So if you want to create a new pledge schedule or a new recurring gift schedule, you'll need to do that first before bringing in the payments to go onto that schedule. I'm going to show you the recurring gift schedule. So we're going to set up the recurring gift schedule for any payments this month. We can see we've got 12 records to review. I've got the mapping templates already set up, and these mapping templates are available to you as part of your onboarding as well. We'll need to do some tweaks for your specific data, but the basics are there and ready to go. So I choose the recurring gift schedule template, and then if I want to make changes, I can click on this pencil button here. When we come into the mapping template, you can see all the different areas of Razor's Edge along the top, and we can see the different mapping options within those on the left-hand side. You can see here that I've mapped to the main constituent area, and that includes things like names and basic biographical information. I've created a constituent code for any new records I'm going to create, as constituent codes are a required field in my Razor's Edge. And I've also set up a constituent alias called GiveCentral ID, and that's how we can match existing records going forward to make sure that we're not creating any duplicates. You can obviously add anything else you want as well, including attributes or custom fields, appeals, solicit codes, and so on. I've also added addresses and email addresses. And just to show you some of the features that we offer here, I'm going to open up the address mapping. So within the address mapping, you can see that we've got the Razor's Edge field here, the source field, so the data coming in from GiveCentral is in the middle column. And when we click on the drop down, we can see all the available fields, and we can map those to anywhere we want in Razor's Edge. So whilst we've got these default templates set up, you can edit this and add any of these fields wherever you'd like it to go. So I've got the donor address here. I've also got some setting options. So if I click on here, we can see that I've got the option if I want to add the address line 1 to new constituent records or existing constituent records. And I can also add new constituent address records, and I can update existing constituent address records if I want. I'm going to uncheck that box because I don't want to edit anything we've already got. I only want to add new address records so we're not losing our address history. I can also change the text spacing. So I've done this with the name fields as well. I'm going to change this to proper case, but you can also choose uppercase or lowercase. And I can do the same with each field. So I can do the same with city. And then I've got a slightly different setup for state, because state in Razor's Edge is a code table. So in order to make sure that the data all goes in exactly as I want it to, there may be some data coming in that isn't a 2-letter code, which is what I want for Razor's Edge. So if we go to the settings here, I've used one of our data transformations. So again, we can not update existing constituent address records. We can see in the data transformations that if it comes in as the name of the state, then I'm going to update it to the 2-letter code that I've already got in Razor's Edge. And this has been, I've got this set up for every single state. There's a whole list here. You don't need to do this yourself. We have got these existing for you to choose from. So if we use our global transformations, you can see that you can select from a number here. So we've got US states, Canadian provinces, last name and surname transformation, and this allows you to change things to proper case, but without compromising names like McNeil or O'Donnellson. And then we've got both US states and Canadian provinces, and then we've also got some date ones as well. You can add your own here, but these are the ones that we've got set up for you to use because they're very common. So that's the one we're using. It's all set up and ready to go. We don't need to edit anything. It will just do it automatically. So we've got that set up for address. We've also got that set up for email address. We've also got some area settings on these. So for example, we can see in the email address, using the email address as a lookup, and we're going to match any existing emails just on the email address rather than the type as well. So we can find an existing email address that's not the same type as we're importing. What we can also do here is make sure we're not losing our email address history. So if we're adding a new email as email type, then we can change what's there already to a different email address. So we can change it to email email 2, email 1. You can set up your hierarchy for how the existing ones are going to go on. So now let's take a look at the gift mapping. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a recurring gift ID, and that's going to allow us to add the payments to the appropriate recurring gift. So that's just an attribute. We've then got the gift itself, which is going to be the recurring gift schedule. So you can see here we've got some required fields and some key fields. A required field is a field that's required by Razor's Edge. A key field is a field that we need to populate in order to create the entire record. When these are met, then you'll see the green check marks. If they're not met, you'll see that they are red and we need to either add a source field or a default value. So we filled this out as much as we want to. The thing that I wanted to show you here is how we've set up the fund. So for the fund, we're using the parish ID. And then we're using a transformation here. So this is a custom transformation. So in the from source, I say how the data comes in. So I've put in the ID number for my parish ID, and then I've chosen the fund that matches to. And I can do that with as many as I want, and I can add to this at any time. But what I've also done is set up a catch-all. So if it doesn't match any of these, then it automatically goes into my annual fund. Now, you might not want to do that. If it doesn't match, you might want to get an exception so you can come in and edit the template. But all of these options are available so you can set it up in the way that works best for you. Let's now save this and go and see how it imports. We always create a control report which shows us any errors and gives us a summary of our processes. And also we can choose to process a shorter number of records when we're doing testing. I'm going to create a Razor's Edge query of new and updated constituents so I can find those new pledge schedules easily. So once we hit start, we come into the import review screen, and this allows us to double check our data before we put it into Razor's Edge. The first screen shows us our matching summary. So this is showing us existing records in Razor's Edge, so we're not creating any duplicates. You can see the action to take shows a create where there's no match, so it will add a new record, and an update where it's found a match in Razor's Edge. So we can see that this record is a good match, and we can see some basic details about the Razor's Edge record here as well. We can also click on this button to open her Razor's Edge record and double check that we think it's the right person to match. Any records where we can see a poor match where we'll need to make a decision about whether or not this is a match. So here we can see it's a matched record, but we're not sure if it's right or not. So you can either choose to create a new one because this is a new person, update the existing one, or ignore it if you want to work with it later, and that'll push it into the control report. I'm going to update both these records for now. If there's more than one record, both will be shown and you can choose the correct one. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can look at the actual data that we're going to put into Razor's Edge. So we can see every single mapping and every single field within that mapping that's going to go in. So we can see the constituent information that I added. Here, you can also update any fields on the fly. So if we don't want to create a record for Rick and Stacia, we can just change it to Ricky and only his record will be added. And you can also make any quick edits that you want to any of the other text fields as well. We can see the constituent code we'll add, the GiveCentral ID that will be added to their record, all their address details, and we can also see the gift information as well. So if we're happy with that, then we can validate it. The validation process just allows us to check that everything's going to go into Razor's Edge as expected and in line with our code tables. We can see a summary, and when we're happy, we can do the import. Okay, so these records have all gone in successfully. Let's go and take a look at them in Razor's Edge. First thing we need to do is commit our batch. So we can find our batch here. We can see all the details that we're adding, the recurring gift, the type, and any other information. And of course, we can edit the batch at this point as well. If we're happy with it, we can commit it. And now we can take a look at these records that we've created and added their recurring gift schedule to. So let's take a look at the top one. So this is a brand new record. We've added his basic name and other biographical information, his address. We've got his alias set up here. And if we go to the gift tab, we can see that we've got this recurring gift set up with all the information that we added in the import. We've also got the recurring gift ID here, so we can match it later. So now let's go and add some payments. Now, when we come into Importacular and hit start, we're going to select the payment installments. And when we bring in payment installments, we're not only bringing in the recurring gift installments, we're also bringing in any one-time gifts as well. So I'm going to choose the start date. Okay, and we've got a lot of gifts to bring in here. So we've got a different mapping template. So we're now bringing in payments. Let's take a quick look at that template. The basic setup is the same because we're still allowing for new records to be created. We've also got the GiveCentral ID here because we can use that as a lookup. The address and email mapping is exactly the same. The gift mapping is what's different here. So let's open this up. We've still got the same fields that we had before. We've got the amount, we've got the gift date, we've got the fund set up in exactly the same way with the parish ID. But when we come out of here and we go to the settings area, we've got this set up as a recurring gift. So we're looking up the pledge or recurring gift using the gift attribute description. And the attribute we want to use is recurring gift ID. And the other thing that we want to have a look at here is the recurring gift and pledges section. So there are a lot of options here to make sure that you can bring this data in exactly the way you want. You can choose to generate an exception if no match is found. I haven't done that because when no match is found, I want to create a one-time gift because that's the way that data comes over. But all of these options are available to you to create this import in a way that suits your processes. The other thing to note here is that we're importing these gifts into a batch. You can choose to import them directly if you prefer, but by default, they will go into a batch for your approval. So let's bring those in. So because I've got so many gifts, I'm just going to process the first 10. Okay, so when we come into the matching summary screen, we can see we've got a number of new records to create with new gifts. But if we scroll down to the bottom, we can also see we've got some updates, so some matches, where we found their existing record. So we're going to add the gift to that existing record. And again, we can check every field that we're adding. And we can see the amounts that we're adding there. So let's validate that import. Okay, that all looks good. So let's run the import. So once again, so I've imported that, I'm going to commit the batch. And now let's take a look at one of our updated records. So we can see the recurring gift that we set up, and we can now see the payment. I hope that demo shows you how easily you can import your data from GiveCentral into Razor's Edge. Any questions?
Thank you so much. So I will open it up for questions here now. If anybody has any, before I let Vish go ahead and share a little bit of what we've been doing on the AI side. So does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? That they want to ask now. Again, our goal with this is to make it extremely easy and flexible to bring everything in. What we're doing now are custom files where, some people use appeal code, some people use package code, or fund means one thing here, but fund means something else somewhere, with a different client or even within the same client. So our goal is to just make this extremely flexible. I have especially found those data transformations to be really, really exciting, and the way that you can make new records in line, which has been an arduous process for some using other tools. So if there's no questions, then I will here. How do we get out of this? I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here and just then go ahead and share a little bit about the GiveCentral Guru, which is our AI assistant that Vish and his team have been working on over the last, I would say, 6-7 months, maybe not even that long, which we are rolling out in multiple phases. So the first phase is currently live. It allows our clients to search and query on our FAQs. So how do I run a deposit report, or help me do a refund? What is a donor ID? It can also help with content creation. So again, we've only had it learn just GiveCentral information. So instead of querying upon the whole internet, we're only searching within our own ecosystem. So you can say things like, help me write a letter thanking people for their donation, or write me an email for people who are doing recurring gifts, right? So world's your oyster as far as that goes. The next phase to this, and then I'll let Vish demo this for you, is reporting. So you're able to ask plain text questions and receive reports and numeric responses. So who's given over $1,000 last month, or who gave, who's stopped their recurring payments. You can ask questions that are quantifiable and receive those as answer. And then the next step really is taking action on that. For the question, who's given more than $1,000 last week? What do you do with that? Then it takes you through the action step of, here, send an email to them, thank them, things like that. Vish, I'll go ahead and stop sharing and let you go ahead.
Sounds good. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for spending the time with us today. My name is Vish, and I work on the tech side of things for GiveCentral. And thank you to Kimberly and Bridget for organizing this helpful. And we are super excited, especially about this RE integration. But what we've been doing is we've been working hard. I know you guys must have heard a lot about AI, language models, open AI. So we started taking a detailed look at it about November of last year to see how we could utilize that to make, and also offer it to our parishes and appeals so that they could take useful help from it. So what we've done is, so I'm showing you the full browser version of the tool. Like individually, the parishes, when they log in, they get access to, or organizations, when they log in, they get access to the tool within their, I'm going to log into a test account, within their individual tools, in individual accounts under this box here. But for the purposes of showing it to you, everybody, so it's easier, this is kind of the full browser version. And as Bridget said, the original intent is training, content generation. Second step is reporting, and third step is the action item. So on the on the content on the training stuff, it's pretty straightforward. You can ask it pretty much anything you want to quickly learn about the system. Obviously, we have, like I just asked it, how do I reconcile my bank statements? Because that's one question that comes a lot. You have your money coming into your bank account. You want to know how easily is it to reconcile, and you forgot the training we had given. So this was our attempt to really create, give you all potentially like a training module right in front of you that you can ask questions anytime. So in this case, I said, how do I reconcile the bank statement? And it kind of walks you through step by step how the report is run, what columns to look for, which are the columns that you should. Similarly, how do I issue a refund? So, these are simple questions that come up a lot. And obviously our team is always available, but our intent was, if we have created very nice FAQs for our clients, then we should make it easy for them to get to how to do different activities. So step one, as I said, was training. We are working on an interface update to this as well, where in addition to the text, it'll also have videos here that you can click and watch them, so that if you don't want to read through the entire text, you can do that. The other thing that we have done is like made it also a communication engine. So, again, specific to our clients, it's not going onto the internet and generating content. We are feeding it content which is specific to our client base. A simple thing, write me a blog post for Giving Tuesday. So, most of our organizations are a little constrained with resources. So again, this is our attempt to provide supplemental assistance to parishes and appeals and dioceses that may want to do more on the communication side, but obviously don't have enough resources dedicated against that. So this just becomes almost a supplementary assistance to that initiative. So again, think about anything. You can ask it to write Twitter posts, like it understands what's the difference between a length of a Twitter post and a Facebook post. If I said I want to write a Twitter post about Easter, it's going to go out, grab, it understands Twitter is limited by characters, and it's going to quickly create a short post for you. And then, so from a communication point of view and a training point of view, it's live. People are using it in our system. But what we are now next working on, which is super excited about, is really the data side of things. So I'm running this as an admin, but you guys, individually at the organization level, don't have to specify the name of your location. You can just ask it questions. Since I'm running it as a super admin, I'm passing the ID. But here I said, how much did location this raise in 2023? So think of you asking it questions about your own data. How much did we raise for Sunday offering last week? What was the, how does Sunday offering compare for the first 3 months of this year versus 3 months of last year, or similarly to the appeal? So it's going to go and grab that information for you pretty much instantaneously, and then give that information back. You can go into like more detail. You can say, who are my top donors in 2024 or forever, whatever. It's going to go out again. It understands what it's doing. It's turning your language-based, LLM-based inputs into SQL queries. It understands which table that you're asking information from, and it's going to grab that information from the appropriate information. Oops, let's see. I'm going to ask it this question again.
It's finding information that we already have in reporting, right? But it's putting it together however you need. So instead of trying to grab multiple reports to look for the data, I've asked it questions before for different, like a capital campaign I'm working on. Show me all open pledges that we'll fulfill in 2024 that have had a failed payment. So you can ask it those questions that, again, we have all the information, but you might have to run a couple reports, use some Excel to figure it out. So you can ask those custom queries and receive that information in return.
Yeah, so similarly, like I asked it a question earlier, how much did this location raise? Gave me the list of the donors, the amounts. And what's nice is it'll give you an action item, like send an email to these donors. And then the neat thing about it is you can just click, okay, I would like to send them an email. And what it does is it knows that you're generating an email content. It'll ask you, what do you think, what is the purpose of that email that you're sending out? You can say, this is my thank you to large donors. You can give it some context. I would like thank for their generous donations. And what it's going to do now is, so the AI is going to take those people that it identified, put them in a list, and then you can review, you can select, and you can just hit continue. And now what it's doing is it's the AI generating the content for this particular email that you asked it to as a thank you message. and it's going to fill this out. And then once it's all filled out, you can review it, you can edit it, you can change it, and you can send it out. So the aim that what we are really trying to get toward is that this system will allow you all at the organization to really be very creative with your data. You can ask it to say, the aim we have is, give me all the say, I'm talking about the annual appeals, because a lot of annual appeals nowadays are moving to recurring giving, and away from pledges. But the big challenge becomes, how do I nudge the recurring givers to maybe make adjustments to their giving on an annual basis, or whatever the criteria you would like to set. So you can just have the AI say, give me all the recurring donors that currently have donations for our annual appeal, but they haven't made an adjustment to their giving amount in over 12 months or 18 months. You can just give it a criteria. It'll give you those people, and then you can say, I would like to send them an email with a recurring ask string, where I would like to ask them or encourage them to increase the existing giving amount by 10, 20, 30%. You can just ask the AI to do that. It'll create those specific URLs for each of the donors, compose the email for you. You can review text, and you can send it out. So the idea is, there's just so many use cases here, right? You may want to personally thank. Usually what happens is, like, you got a large gift, someone makes a $10,000 donation, but by the time that, obviously GiveCentral will send them a thank you email immediately, which you can customize, but it's still a confirmation of the payment with your language on it, your logo on it. But if you really wanted to send them like a personalized thank you, which maybe comes from the bishop or comes from the director of development, what you can do is you can tell the AI, anytime someone makes a gift greater than, single gift greater than $10,000, send them this email, and you can just craft that email as your standard template. And then what happens is a connection builds. I made a gift, I got a thank you from the system, but I also got a personalized thank you from the bishop or from the major gift officer. So you're kind of making it do your communication tasks that usually may take anywhere between 5 to 10 days, because by the time this gift goes into the database, someone runs a database report, it says, oh, this is a large gift, we should send them a thank you. So you're really constraining, restricting or reducing that time. You may want to send a thank you, personalized thank you for everybody, wishing them a happy birthday on the date of their birthday. Right now, the process is more manual. You can just have the AI say, as long as we have birthdays of people, send them this email wishing them happy birthday the day of their birthday. So we are going to add, you can do transaction-based looking. So for example, if I wanted to ask a question about a specific gift, I can ask it. It'll give me pretty much all the details about that stuff. So the idea here is, again, training, content, then reporting, and then action, as I said, send emails and stuff. And this is going to be a pretty deep focus of our company over the next, multiple years, I believe, where we will try to introduce these type of technologies across our platform, so that the manual, repetitive tasks that individual appeals, parishes, development offices are currently doing is done by an automated process, and you all just have to review and just approve, and then all of that stuff kind of happens in the background. So super excited about that. And
we got am I muted? No. Okay. We got a question as well. Does everyone have access to all of this? So the answer is, for the initial phase, which is the FAQs and the content creation. Yes. Every administrator has this already. Vish, if you don't mind going back to that demo account. Yeah. So if you click on the little GC Guru button at the bottom, it's there. It's there for you now.
You can ask it pretty much the same content, same questions here, and it'll give you the answers. And as Bridget said, our aim will be to give you all the full access as well, so it's easier to work in this environment. So you'll be able to say, go to full view, and it'll take you pretty much to the full view, where you can then work in this environment as well.
And then we, as we make new FAQs, as we get, feedback, or, create new content, generating new content, this will continue to learn, as time goes on. The other two phases, the reporting access and then the action steps, which I'm just calling phase 2 and 3, those are currently not live. So those are, I would say, not in the distant future. I don't want to commit Vish's team to any date on that, but those will be coming out in the future, and those will not just get released. Those 2 phases would be something you would opt into, and a small monthly cost associated with them, just to keep up with with the work it takes to keep those 2 items updated and working properly. So those would not just get released to everyone, but the FAQs and the content everyone does have access to.
Yeah, and right now, from a progress point of view, the reporting stuff, as I was explaining, we are pretty much done with. That phase is complete. What we are working right now is a single sign-on for everybody, where you see how when I was asking it a question, I was passing in the ID of the location. But what we want you to do is when you have it, you can click and just say, give me, you don't have to, the AI has to know you're from St. John or St. Timothy. We're just working on the single sign-on stuff for it right now. And my hope would be over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have all that organized, and then we'll have the reporting stuff ready to go. And then the next phase will be on the action items. We have already started creating action items. What are going to be the action items that we recommend? But our aim is to make the recommendations, like whether to send an email, whether to call them, whatever the actions are, also have the AI generate that. So we are kind of working on that piece right now. But the reporting stuff is pretty much wrapped up. But we are just working on figuring out a single sign-on between the organization and having the AI know that you have logged in as Parish A, Parish B, Parish C, so that the AI knows not to give you data for some other location that you're not logged in as. So that's kind of what we're working on right now. The transaction, I think this is the one that could be helpful, is many times people call, and then they say, oh, I got an email with this transaction ID and I need to know all these details. Again, our aim here is that you don't even have to go into reporting. You can just type in the transaction, you can type in the donor information, and the AI will just go and give you all the details on it. So, and then the final stage of this also will be once we have all 3 released, that I know, especially for major gift officers and people that are pastors that are out in the field, not expected to be in front of a computer all the time. For those people, we also will have an app coming on, which will be on your mobile phones, which, once you authenticate, then you can ask similar questions of the data right from your from an app on your phone. So, if you're at an event and you quickly want to say hello to somebody, but maybe you don't remember their wife's name, and you can quickly ask if we have the information in here, you can ask it, it'll come back and say, oh, the wife's name as per our data is, Joan, so you can have a more meaningful conversation. Our aim would also be, we are thinking about ways to leverage this not only for GiveCentral, but also for databases that you guys can be working with, so that this would be a one-stop shop for you all, not only to get information out of GiveCentral, but also data that you may have on your donors in your database, native database. So I will stop here, and if you have any questions, obviously Bridget will share the deck with you, and feel free to, if you want more in-depth demo of it one-on-one, I'd be happy to show that as well.
If there's any questions, here, I'll share my screen. Again, I have our contact information, mine and Kimberly's. So if you guys have any questions about the API, Kimberly and I would be the right ones to check in with about that. I really appreciate everybody for coming and checking in. Again, we're trying to do more of these webinars just to let everybody know, what we're working on, upcoming releases, and as well on the feedback side, if anybody has any, feedback or suggestions, again, I'm always all ears for that. So I'll wrap it up, but I'll stick on for another couple minutes if anybody else has any questions that they want to ask. But thank you guys so much for coming. And talk soon. Thank you, Kimberly.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay. All right. No other questions. All right, Kimberly, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Sorry for the last minute messing around, but
No, it all worked out. It all worked out. I think it was great. Yeah, no, that was great. So thank you. And there were some,
thank you for organizing.
I don't know how to stop my recording here.